What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. This is the third and final episode in our Super Saturday series that I've been doing. This is a small series we have on the channel where we go through some of the rugby news, where I chuck on a game of rugby that's going to be upcoming. In this case, it's going to be Ireland versus France. I'm going to play as Ireland because they're still in with a chance of winning the Six Nations. There's a lot to get into with this. We're going to go through the teams, who I think is going to win, some predictions, who I think is going to work well in each team. I can't wait to get into this. Let's get this game kicked off and underway and talk about these teams. Alright, here's Sexton to kick us off. So let's begin first of all by talking about the French team. The French team recently destroyed Wales, for lack of a better term really. They played very well against Wales in their little friendly game they had last week, while of course Ireland were finishing Italy for their Six Nations series before their final game they're going to be having against France this weekend. So let's put this French squad on screen now. As far as I'm aware, this is pretty much the exact same team that played Wales. And what a strong team these guys are looking. Obviously, France had such a strong start to this Six Nations, winning so many games before coming up against Scotland and losing that in the most ridiculous turnaround that I've ever seen for this French squad since they've gone under their new management. This is a big team, and some of the names that are in this team are just ridiculous. I mean, let's get into it straight from the off. The forward pack that these guys have, just the sheer versatility they have in these forwards is ridiculous. Villamis is like the tallest man I think I've ever seen. Gregory Aldrit and Olivon are two of the quickest, like, number 8 and number 7s that I think I've ever seen. The turnover rate for Aldrit is insane. Olivon and Aldrit are both super power runners. Leroux is a monster in lineouts. And then you've got the front three that have been doing so well in the scrums recently. They really took over the Wales scrum on the weekend, so I'm expecting to see big thing from this front 8 coming through. Moving on to the French backs. Dupont, who is having a superb time at the minute. He scored 2 tries against Wales in the game on Saturday, and he isn't looking like stopping. He's had a good series all round, really. And he's been able to keep people like Serin out of contention for that number 9 spot, which is not easy to do, because Baptiste Serin is also a very strong number 9. Entomac is back, and he's conscious, which he wasn't for the one game where I had to pick him as my fantasy league fly half, where he got, of course, knocked out on the field. Very strong number 10, very good game playmaker, still young. He's got a long future, I think, ahead of him in this French side. Ficou, who is just all over the place. He plays 11, he plays 12, he plays 13. Sometimes he decides he's going to play number 5 and he chucks himself in a scrum. He just does everything. Strong lad, fast lad. Rattez, who we got to see a little bit more of this Six Nations, more so than I knew him before. A very quick player. Probably, in my opinion, one of their weakest defenders. And I think that could potentially be the chink in the armour for this game, could be going down that right wing. We'll get into that a little bit later. Vincent and Vakatawa. Well, Vakatawa shredded the Wales defence on Saturday with just crash ball runs and picking some superb lines. And then, of course, Bouthier, the back there, who only played half a game. I don't really know why. He wasn't having a particularly bad game. He only played 40 minutes against Wales. There was no injury sub. They just got him to 40 minutes and wanted to keep him. I don't know whether they were more concerned about just keeping him fit for this game. Didn't want to have any injuries. Just wanted to try and get ahead in that game. But on a whole, as a starting 15 for France, this is a solid team. I think they know Ireland are going to come for this. I believe France can still win. The Six Nations on a whole, this is not just this game. They're not going to, but they theoretically can and mathematically can. They need Italy to beat England in order for them to actually take the Six Nations, which isn't going to happen. There is also, I think, the possibility if England beats Italy but don't score 4 tries, which I also don't think will happen, and France beat Ireland with scoring 4 tries, they could still take it. I just don't see all of those things coming together. For me now, it's decided it's going to be between Ireland and England, whoever wins this one. But France don't want to go out. They don't want to go out from a Six Nations. I thought they were going to get a Grand Slam in. If you go back to March time, I think they're going to be wanting to come out strong for this game. So they've absolutely loaded up this pack. They've been doing very, very well. Doing all their club level games, and then that one warm-up game they had against Wales where they just played out of their skin. I have been seriously impressed by the turnaround of this French team. Obviously, they had a terrible decision making in the World Cup, where of course there was that cheeky elbow from Vahamanina, who decided he'd get himself sent off for no reason. And ever since then, they've had to try and change it up a bit. Obviously, there was a bit of afters from the Wales game. For anyone who hasn't noticed, there was the bit of a thing with a forearm hitting Alan Wynne in the face. So there's going to be some sightings made about that, which I haven't actually read into too much. In terms of finishes for the French team, again, strong people coming on. Sarah and I've already mentioned. A player who I'm a big fan of is Bamba. I think he's a great player. He is got to be up there for probably one of the least quality players, I would say. He's never sort of struck me as a solid rugby player. His whole job is holding up a scrum and just making three men have to tackle you in order for you to be stopped. He's an absolute rhino of a man. He just charges through. So going to be fun to see some of those people. I mean, the replacement three actually on a whole, Bamba, Gross and Shat is also very, very strong. I think they're going to be playing a big game of forwards again. Obviously, this Ireland team's going to come out strong. They're going to want to be pushing this forward game. It's going to be a super physical game, and both teams know tries matter for this one, which is going to be an important point. I think both France and Ireland so far have been big into their kicking for corners or just trying to take the threes if you can get them, whereas I think both teams know in order to get anything out of this Six Nations, they are desperate for tries in this one. So I'm going to be thinking a lot more of the backs is going to be going into play, and I think that's then going to come down to who's just got the better backs, and to do that we need to check out this Ireland team. So let's check the Ireland squad on the screen. Boom, there we go. So this is the Ireland team that's going to be facing France. And there's only been one change made to this team, and that is with Robbie Henshaw coming in at the number 13 shirt. That is because, of course, Ringrose got injured in the last game, which was a shame for him, but it allowed Bundyaki to get a little try of his own in there. But Robbie Henshaw really impressed me last week. He had a fantastic game. He was everywhere. And I just think this Ireland, which I might say has probably the best graphic for showing off their teams. I love this graphic. All the players and their positions. A lot of the other teams need to pay attention to some of this and look at this. I'm looking at you, Italy. What a terrible graphic you had for this one. But this Ireland team as a whole is immensely strong. They had a lot of mistakes against Italy, and I definitely think they wanted to win by more. Giving away the try to Padovani with that ridiculous interception pass, which obviously Sexton was not too happy with, and a couple of other little bits and bobs, dropping the ball, poor decision making in some of the kicks, which I'm sure they will have reviewed the footage and will be coming back in as a much stronger team. Keenan at left wing. What a debut that man had. Absolutely deserved his hat-trick. He didn't quite get it because of some outrageous TMO decision, in my opinion. Hopefully they can straighten that out and keep Ryan's hands to himself. Stockdale, good as ever, having a great game, making those meters up. Some superior kicking from him, getting right back down the other end of the field. In fact, that entire back line, Murray, Sexton, Aki, Henshaw, Conway, Stockdale, and now that Keenan has shone the light into the world of left wings for him. I mean, would anyone not want that as a backline going into a game that potentially decides who wins the Six Nations? That is a try-scoring backline if I have ever seen it. And I think they've got a great potential to take this one. CJ Stander got himself a try against Italy last week and had a superb game himself. Keelan Doris, again, having a superb time last week. And there was very few people last week, actually, that could say I would be disappointed in. Connor's got himself a little try on his debut as well. Ryan just needs to keep discipline together, but that front three again, you know, Cian Heary, Herring, Porter, these boys know what they're doing. They're going there to just power this through. Looking at the bench for Ireland, a bit of a mix-up here. They've got some other names coming in here. Heffernan, of course, was in there last week. There's a couple of other ones in there. Gibson Park, who I don't think we get to saw a lot of last week. Obviously, Murray had his little yellow card at the start, which didn't warrant for Gibson Park to come, which is a shame. I thought they would have maybe dropped the fullback and brought him on to give him a bit more game time. Unfortunately not. Omani there in the 20 shirt, who I think is going to be valuable to come on. He had a great little offload that I think led to Bundiaki's try last week. I think the bench as a whole is looking strong. They've got a lot of new boys in there, which I quite like. They're going to bring some lower cap players in. So they're going to keep the youth together, but they've also got key people. And I think like people like Peter Omani is going to be really useful to bring on just as an experienced back. People are going to get into that game, that 60th minute. People are going to get tired. They need some strong leadership. Obviously, if Murray ends up coming off, who's a big, strong leader, you've got to have Sexton shouting for the backs. You want Manny in the front there, calling where people need to go. And I'm expecting this Ireland team to show up to this game. They know they can do this. So I'll chuck the table on screen now so you can see how it looks before all of this Super Saturday is kicked off, in order for you to see how Ireland are going to do. And Ireland know this is theirs for the taking now. Having beaten Italy, they are now 1 point ahead of England going into this game, which means that all they need to do now to win this Six Nations is score 4 tries against France and win the game. Obviously, that's a given. They need to do that, but I think this Ireland team is absolutely capable of this. That backline especially is going to be so strong. I can see Johnny Sexton making big decisions here to not go for posts. I think once you get past that halfway mark, if they can get enough of a lead, I reckon if they can get 10, 12 points ahead, I reckon Ireland will stop trying to go for the posts. I think they'll just be pushing for the kicks to the corner, or maybe even tap and goes. If anyone watched the Scotland versus Georgia game that happened last week, you'll see that Scotland actually, most of their penalties, they went for tap and goes, and actually led to nearly 3 tries, I think. It's a good tactic, and I think they could be going for it. Points for them is not an option. It does not matter. It is all about 4 tries and win that game. So let's have a look back at this Ireland team now, who I think might be one of the strongest Ireland sides I've seen in a long time. There were some big names that got lost, obviously, with Rory Best going out. There's some big shoes to fill. But I think this is a team that is absolutely capable of beating France, and not only beating France, but beating France by the 4 tries that they need to get, and maybe even a little bit more. My prediction for this game is going to be that it's going to be a really rubbish first half. As a spectator, that's going to be my prediction. I think they're going to play it so they're going to want to be safe, and I think both teams are going to want to do the same. France can't afford to just give away points, easily. They're going to want to try and hold it together. They're going to be the ones going for the drop goals, or maybe the just kick the posts. They're going to want to try and get that points build up as much as possible just to get a grasp on the game. I think Ireland are just going to play very solid in defence, hold it out for a little bit, let that team weaken down. They're going to play big forwards. As you can see, I mean, they've got 5 substitute forwards. They switched it back up from how they played against Italy, but they've got the 5 forwards there to replace. I think they're going to spend a lot of the first half just trying to nail down that French forward pack in order for the second half to where the wingers let loose a little bit. I'm expecting to see Herring doing those line-out mauls that Ireland love to do, seeing if they can push that ball over the line, and then hoping that the wingers can finish the job, get those 4 tries and call it there. I'm going to have the prediction. I think Ireland are going to win. I think Ireland are going to win by 12. That's going to be my call for this game. Picking a number out of thin air. I think it's Ireland's game. I think it's Ireland Six Nations. I'd love to know what you guys think. Make sure you drop it down in the comments who you think is going to win this Super Saturday. Who's going to win this Six Nations? It's been such a fun time. It's finally back. I can't wait to get Super Saturday underway. I'll see you all next time, guys. Bye-bye.